What is the mission of the City of Boston's Department of Innovation and Technology? How is the City of Boston delivering better government through innovation and technology? And what is Boston doing to secure its systems and infrastructure? I'll explore these questions and so much more with our very special guest, Santiago Garces, Chief Information Officer of the City of Boston. So Santiago, let's start off with the mission. Could you tell us a little bit about the mission of the Department of Innovation and Technology for the City of Boston?
Yes, absolutely. So last week, we shared our department strategic plan. And in the strategic plan, we outlined the vision that our department is to help bring more equitable, effective, and efficient services and products to the residents of the city of Boston, to our constituents. And in many ways that we are meant to help connect our constituents with our workforce and be able to embrace new possibilities and be able to do so at a scale and bring in new ways of doing so.
I'm wondering, as you took over, and this, as you said, is your third municipality that you've worked on, what are your top, say, 3 management challenges that you've faced in this position? And how have you sought to address those challenges?
Boston is a city that is older than the United States, right? It's a city that has almost 400 years, and there's a lot of inertia. There's a lot of things that we've done because we've always done them that way, and that is a challenge in of itself. So creating a culture where we are inquisitive, that we challenge the assumption that just because we've done something in a way that is the way that we should do it for the next 400 years. I think that the second challenge has been, I think about it from a statistics standpoint. What are the type 1 errors and what are the type 2 errors? This is a notion that I learned from Mitch Weiss, who's a professor at Harvard Kennedy School, who used to be a chief of staff for Mayor Tom Menino. The type 1 errors are, what are the things that we currently do that maybe we should stop doing? They've, with technology or paradigms or things that we're doing that are really not helpful. On the other hand, what are the type 2 errors? What are the things that would have great benefit that we don't know about because we haven't tried? And I think that in the context of an IT department, and like I think about this in legacy large organizations in the city of Boston, the federal government, state governments, over the course of time, think about like when there's the first chief information officers being created and these first department of information technology, there's a lot of hope for transformation. And I think that for some reason that had receded, and our IT departments had become more and more clerical departments that were just, buying and maintaining laptops and phones and whatnot, because some of these departments were not engaging in what the city needed as a future need. That there was the creation of digital offices and data offices and other pieces that were trying to fill a gap that the CIO and the IT departments weren't filling. So my leadership challenge has been, and in Boston, we're lucky that the digital teams and the chief digital officer and the chief data officer are part of our organization. So I've really taken in stride of thinking, what does enablement at a broader scale mean? How is it that we make sure that we're bringing kind of that promise of government to all aspects of the operation? And we're not just thinking there's a legacy piece and there's a modern piece, but really trying to bring value and benefit across the board. The third management challenge, but obviously working with stakeholders around change management, clarifying the vision, delivering incremental value in the vision so that people understand why is it that we're making the changes that we're making is a significant challenge.
I was wondering if you could sort of give us an overview of your IT strategy and maybe highlight for us some of the strategic priorities you're focused on right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have 3 priorities, and you'll notice that the priorities are less about like actual things, but more about the house. The theory of change here has been, if we change how we work, we will be more successful. So the first area has been saying that we deliver products and services that connect our constituents with City Hall. Again, for a more technical audience, it implies embracing Agile and DevOps as frameworks for the delivery, and ITSM, ITIL as a service management methodology for the way that we work. So one, understanding what are like the discrete services and products that we offer. Two, being able to articulate what is the value that they offer to the people who use them, and articulate the value not just based on our assumption, but really being able to get our customers or potential customers to articulate that value. Three, being able to measure things that are valuable about those services and products. So availability, security, reliability, being able to build roadmaps where the things that we know that technology is always evolving, there's always new needs, and the city's evolving in its needs. There's new legislation being passed, there's new funding every year. So understanding how is it that we build, how is it that we intake that work, how is it that we refine it, how is it that we plan it out and map it out into roadmaps, and then how is it that we make sure that we're delivering on those improvements is a key part. So that's like the first core part of the strategy. The second part is around governance and policy. So as I mentioned before, the city of Boston, similar to the federal government or in state government, my department is not the only IT organization within the city. The police department, the schools, the public library, and there's many others have IT groups. But the thought is those groups benefit when they work collaboratively, when they have standards, when one, because it protects our residents, it protects the constituents, making sure that there's a level of service and a quality and security that they can expect, and privacy. Two, it makes it easier for us to have clarity around what is it that we're going to do, what are the roadmaps. From a financial management standpoint, it's just better as well. And it makes sure that we're not missing populations of employees, that there's not a department that's not going to have the right tools to do the work that they need, and that we're negotiating what is the support structure for that work. So is it our department that's going to provide it? Is it someone else that's going to provide it? And that we make sure that there's consistency and clarity. And hopefully no one wants to have ambiguity when they're requesting something, that they know what is it that they'll get when they get it. The last piece is, again, on the digital equity side, and the how is thinking about the gaps, again, in connectivity, devices, and skills and attitudes. And in Boston, we know that the problem of digital access tends to be concentrated also with people that have high vulnerability, social vulnerability. So elderly adults, people with disabilities, non-native English speakers, immigrants, people who live in affordable housing, and other markers of risk. So how is it that we bring solutions to where those people are? So again, as we are building better experiences in government, we know that those people have those resources, and we know that those tools are not useful only for interacting with government, but to get healthcare, for workforce participation, to be able to work. If you have a disability and you have a difficult time commuting, working from home could be a game changer. But if you don't have access to the tools to be able to work from home, you're not going to be able to participate in the workforce that way. So anyways, those are kind of the three main pillars. And our hope is that overall we're expanding the possibilities of how is it that we work. We're leaving kind of an open plate around like what are the things that would actually be beneficial, but focusing on user experience, the experience of our residents, the experience of our employees, and the process, and having technology complement that.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I was wondering if we could explore, kind of dig a little deeper into some of the efforts you're leading in it. And one area I'd like to talk about is modernizing infrastructure and systems. Can you tell us more, Santiago, about some of the initiatives or efforts you're pursuing or have plans to pursue around modernizing enterprise applications, and what are the intended benefits or maybe perhaps some of the challenges in doing such work?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've started to incorporate, again, as an ethos as well, is that modernizing and maintaining our applications and our systems don't have to be exclusive to each other, that they are part of the baseline and part of what we, again, as we start asking the teams to document and to track the work that they're doing and to be able to visualize it and surface it, is we want to be very intentional about investing and maintaining systems that are secure, that are up to date, that are working well. It's just like good management, right? Thinking about like we're being good stewards of these public goods that we support. So I'll give you a couple of examples of areas where we've been working. So we've been making some major improvements to our network, and our network is kind of like is the common denominator for everything else. Most people don't know that the network is there, but we have obviously a couple of different dimensions of the network. We have our BONET, which is our wide area network that connects about 400 facilities. And we've been making some really exciting improvements. We're in the process of increasing the bandwidth of like the core backbone to get to 100 gigabits per second and enabling it to get to up to 400 gigabits per second and increasing reliability. So what does that mean? That students in Boston public schools will have access to faster internet, that will be able to partake in more intense applications. So they could be doing virtual reality learning. They could be doing data analysis with open data sets and other things, but really building the foundation up front. And it's multi-million, it's many millions of dollars of investment and a lot of complex projects that we're doing, but we're again celebrating those investments, thanking the council. And one of the things that we've been planning as we commission some of these new systems is how is it that we can celebrate including the kids that go to Boston public schools to learn about fiber optics and about tunable lasers that are the things that run these next generation networks. And on the applications and other pieces, again, we're modernizing first the way that we work, how we surface and visualize the work, how we capture the requirements from our customers so that we know what we're doing actually has value. But we're also working on changing the how we run the applications and how we build the applications. So we just completed a major project to migrate our enterprise resource planning software, so like the system that manages the financials and HR systems, to the cloud. So it's now hosted in the cloud, which came handy because literally 3 weeks after we did the migration, we suffered outage for several weeks in our mainframe, which had been hosting the ERP. So we're a couple of weeks away from having a major outage that would have been very disruptive to the city. That, again, because we're being proactive, we've been making those changes. So lastly, we've been, again, continuing to think about like how is it that we leverage cloud technology and how is it that we leverage some of these new tools. And lately, how is it that we leverage generative AI and some other tools in delivering value and bringing new paradigms to build technology tools and to maintain them. So that's been really exciting.
What are you doing in the area of enhancing IT governance across the enterprise, and how can doing this be somewhat challenging from a cultural standpoint?
Yes, the foremost challenge is inertia. A lot of these systems and a lot of things have come up. Again, Boston's a city that has been here for 400 years, and a lot of things that have came up kind of unintentionally or not necessarily in a coordinated fashion, right? So I think that the first challenge has been creating a notion. Lack of governance is a problem, and it's a problem that has urgency and it needs to be solved. I think that that is an accomplishment in the past year where I think that we've been able to get to that point. What are we doing about it? I think, again, my hope is to build a governance process and a governance system where 80 to 90% of what we're doing, we do because it really benefits all the stakeholders in such an obvious way that you would not even think about why wouldn't you do it that way. So we are in the process of, we just hired a director of governance and policy for our department, and we intend to hire business relationship managers that work with that person, foremost to build relationships with departments and agencies so that we understand what are their priorities, that we make sure that we're aligning and creating and investing in the capabilities that would meet those needs, and also helping departments and agencies have less of a headache when they have to interact with us. We're a complicated department. And when you start going, not only our department, but all of the different technology organizations that live in the city, it's hard. It's hard to understand who do you go to for what. And our goal is that the governance process simplify that the standards and policies help simplify the question of how is it that we should build something, How long should we expect it to be in operation? How do we build it? How do we secure it? So the hope is that by making things more convenient, we end up making it more efficient, more secure, better protecting the digital rights of our constituents. And it is a matter of building trust and then also investing that trust to make change, knowing that there's going to be some skepticism. And again, there's like a 10 to 20% of things that are going to be inconvenient to people, and we want to be honest about it. But I do think that whatever we do will have an impact for the workforce and for our constituents.
This has been the Business of Government Hour, a conversation with Santiago Garces, Chief Information Officer of the City of Boston. Be sure to join us next time for another informative, insightful, and in-depth conversation on improving government technology and its effectiveness. Until then, subscribe, download, and listen to the entire interview at iTunes, Spotify, or on your favorite podcast app. And as always at businessofgovernment.org.